Before we get started, I want to share a really big announcement with you all. Drum roll, please. 4th and Trail has a website. Boom. Here's the link. You can't click that. That's not how technology works yet. So the link is in the description down below. Go check it out. We have our shop for merch on there. We've got fantasy football rankings, got articles talking about very specific fantasy football things. And yes, you're going to want to check out that tab as well because there's a very, very, very special project that the 4th and Troll brand is working on. It is real, it is happening, and you're going to love it. So make sure you're subscribed here, following us on social media so that you can be up to date with all the cool projects 4th and Troll has. And I can't wait to share more of this website with you. So go check it out. Thank you so much to everyone. Let's get on with the video. Breakout! Ladies and gentlemen, 4th and Trollers, welcome back to 4th and Troll. I'm Wes, and I have a new setup. I think it makes more sense for me because I have two monitors. They're this way. You were over there last time, and so my eyes were always like, I was always talking to you this way when I was looking at this monitor here. Now I'm looking at it. You can see more of my eyes. You can see more of the, you can see the whites of my eyes. That's a great America quote. Hope you had a great America weekend. And if you don't celebrate 4th of July because you don't live in America, thank you for giving attention to this football as well. Enough of the World Cup. Let's get back to real football, am I right? Golly. All right, a few breakout names for the 2026 season that have already been circulating in the fantasy football community. Some running backs, some wide receivers, some tight ends, some young guys that we think might have a really good season. I'm going to be able to answer right now who's going to have a fantastic 2026 season. Let's jump into it. Let's do running backs first. Historically, running backs have a really good rookie season, can break out in year two for where they'll continue on with a great career afterwards. We've seen notably in the recent years, Jonathan Taylor being a prime example, just exploded, took over fantasy RB1 on the year. Let's start out with the most interesting name on this list, the person that everyone really wants to break out. We're still figuring out what he can do with the football in a full season. It's Cam Skattebo. Can he break out in 2026? Well, there are a few metrics that you may have already seen throughout social media. It seems like that right when I started doing research, everyone did research at the same time of what makes a breakout candidate. A lot of factors that are there are a few factors that you can weigh to determine if a running back is qualified to break out, if they're likely to break out. One of them is explosion rate. Another one is yards before contact. Really stats together, and you have a really likely chance that Cam Skattebo breaks out in 2026. And there's one other running back on the entire list that definitely will break out. Now, for Skattebo, here's the problem. He's really inefficient, like really inefficient. And so if you increase his production historically the way all other year two running backs break out, he's not going to get in the top 10. Okay. That's just a fact. Okay. Let's start to settle this now. Okay. Manage your expectations. Can he break out? Absolutely. Will he be top 10? Unlikely. Okay. He'd have to play all 17 games. And right now, I don't think you can look me in the eye. I can't look you in the eye and say for sure Cam Skattebo was playing all 17 games, not with the way he's playing football. That's for darn tootin'. So the reality is he's going to miss probably about 2 games. And with that idea in mind, he's sitting there at like the RB 16 on the season. I mean, from the projections I've already done, and boy, howdy, have I done a lot of research. He's not going to be a top 10 running back. So if you draft him based on a RB2, if you plan around that draft, you'll draft smarter by making him your RB2 with some upside. If he's your RB3, you're sitting in a really good spot. So just manage expectations. He's not going to play a full season. If he does, he's barely top 10. So let's settle the waters here. Likely going to break out, but he's more likely to be closer to RB20 than RB10. Okay. Next up is going to be Omarion Hampton. And let me tell you, this morning when I was recording, I was ready to tell you into this microphone that Hampton was going to be a bust. I was ready to do it. I had the numbers. I had proven it right here. it showed he was incredibly inefficient. He was not gonna have the opportunities. And then I realized that I miscalculated one thing, and it changed his projection from, like, RB23 to RB12, okay? That's a big difference. I'm really glad I caught that. Shout out to my friends JC and Chandler for really pressing on that today. They're like, "Are you sure he's not gonna break out?" I'm like, "Yeah, look at this." And they're like, "Yeah, why is he only getting 200 carries?" And I'm like, "'Cause I don't do math. I'm not Gen A." Uh, so the point is, Omarion Hampton is going to be within the hype. He's gonna justify the hype that everyone is giving him right now. The one thing is he doesn't have the yards before contact that you really want to see for a year 2 breakout, but there's a lot of ways that you can justify that based on the offensive line being so beat up, and he didn't play a full season. So you don't really know just how much his stats would have been, which is similar to Cam Skattebo. Both these players, we're just assuming are going to have really good seasons based on the few games they played last year. So the trust is that their year 2 breakout really is legitimate based on what we've seen so far, especially with Omarion Hampton. I mean, he is looking at a top 12 season with so few touchdowns. I mean, just a ton of yards and so few touchdowns, and he can be top 12 in full PPR. So the sky's the limit for Hampton. I'm so glad I don't have to go into microphone later and apologize for being wrong about that, unless you're watching this from the future and this is wrong and Hampton was a bust. Either way, I'm right. Okay, the next running back I want to talk about is going to be Ashton Jeanty. You know him. You love him. You love the way he stands in the backfield like Michael Myers. And the truth is, it's similar to Marvin Hampton. Great explosion rate, little yards before contact, but the offensive line was terrible, and he still finished as a top 15 running back in full PPR. So there's a lot of promise to what Ashton Jeanty can do for his breakout season. I am buying into him. I'm wanting to draft him as best as I can already because the ceiling is insane. And if I remember this correctly, his last season in college, the rushing yards he put in a single season is only second to Barry Sanders. Let's just kind of like get a hold of that concept. Ashton Jeanty is being compared to Barry Sanders collegiately. Can he do that in the NFL? It starts this year. The Raiders have definitely improved their offensive plan. They got one of the top centers in the NFL. You'd like to think that their new head coach is going to be just any amount better, than Pete Carroll's season there. So quarterback situation is much better. If Ashton Jeanty does have a breakout season the way that we anticipate, I mean, top 3 on the season, legitimately. I mean, there's no one's surprised by that, but legitimately could lead the league in rushing yards. That's how good he could do. I'm just saying. Let's see what let's just I'm in. I'm in. That's it. I don't need to say anymore. I'm in. Next running back I want to talk about is going to be TreVeyon Henderson of the New England Patriots. He was one of the most promising running backs going into the fantasy season because he wasn't guaranteed the starting role, and so his ADP was really good, and it didn't quite pan out the way we wanted to. You could see the flashes. You could see that when he had the football, he was so, so good, and yet Josh McDaniels wasn't giving him the football. Well, TreVeyon Henderson is the only other running back that has met both qualifications for a breakout season, and he played the entire year. And I would put my money on TreVeyon Henderson as the most likely running back to have a breakout season. He is definitely an RB1 for fantasy and full PPR. The way that his season looks right now is that he's going to be inside the top 10. I really like what TreVeyon Henderson has for this upcoming season. And Ramondre Stevenson can still be relevant, but TreVeyon should be the premier back for the New England Patriots. I would go for it right now. I think right now is his ADP is around the 5th or 6th round. So there's some tremendous value for him who can end up as a top 10 running back on the season. Definitely target TreVeyon Henderson. So far, all these guys, I agree, have a breakout season. Their rankings are going to be a little bit different based on where their draft picks might be. So just keep that with a grain of salt as far as what the expectations might be based on your league format. But let's talk about one of the running backs that I do not think is going to succeed because I do not think they're going to have a breakout. Most people aren't talking about him right now anyway, but it's Quinshon Judkins. Did not meet the qualifications. Now, if he does have a breakout season, yeah, going to be like top 8. I think like RB9 or 8 based on all the math I've done. He's like really good. But he already played a full season, and he did not have the explosiveness, and he was not efficient. He was actually one of the least efficient running backs in all of 2026, and the offensive line has not gotten better. It's actually gotten worse thanks to one of their star linemen retiring. So, yeah, Judkins is not going to break out. I'm not risking that. I'm not risking the chance that he might be top 12 when he's more likely to be closer to top 20. Similar to Cam Skattebo, but Skattebo is very likely to have a breakout season. So there's a comparison. Hopefully that helps you out. Let's talk about wide receivers. Okay, there are some year 2 candidates for breakout seasons. Year 2 rookie wide receivers. I'm going to name some of them right here. The first one was the first wide receiver drafted last year. That's Tetairoa McMillan. Yeah, he met most of the qualifications and he had a pretty solid season, but he didn't have the fantasy season that you would want from a wide receiver one. If he has a breakout season, right now, the metrics do not indicate he's going to have a wide receiver one season. What he will have is going to be inside the top 20, which is really good, but it's not quite that wide receiver one role that you really want from a breakout candidate. I do think Tetairoa McMillan is going to have a solid season. I think he's worth drafting as well. But if you draft him at the right ADP, you're going to be much more pleased with his season. There are going to be enough weeks where he's going to do poorly that's going to make you frustrated with the draft pick, unless you draft with more wide receivers going into that pick. So just keep that in mind. Next is Emeka Egbuka. Some call him Emeka Egbuka. How did Gronkowski say it? Play the clip.
And you got to give credit to this rookie sensation wide receiver out of Ohio State, Emeka Egbuka.
Oh, Emeka Egbuka. I love that. Last year, around this time, I was telling him with my guys, I was loving what I was seeing at a rookie mini camp. Training camp was just it was awesome. Everything was spelling an incredible season for the rookie that I even said, I don't know what his ceiling is. And they started out the way he did, and I was like, oh man, I feel so good. I did the research, I gave the advice. I hope you listened. And then he just fell. And he fell so hard that he's like missing out on any opportunity to have a really good breakout season. And based on what I'm looking at here, folks, he's barely inside the top 40. Top 40. I need to see some big news at a training camp to convince me to draft him because that is crazy. Here's the reason. Okay, I'm not just giving some what's the word? What's the word? What's the word? What's the word? Oh, what's the word? What's the word? Oh, what's the word? What's the word? Oh, oh, what's the word? Oh, I'm gonna ask my wife. What's the word for something that's like just random? Yeah, but like arbitrary. Thank you. Arbitrary. There's the word. Arbitrary. This wasn't just some arbitrary number. Emeka Egbuka has one of the worst catch percentages I've ever seen from someone that had a fine season for a wide receiver one, basically for a team. He's at 50% for wide out completions and like 47% completion percentage for the slot route. Bad. I don't know how much you want to contribute that to Baker Mayfield having a worse second half of the season, or if he was dealing with injuries or whatever you want to say, but just a bad completion percentage. That's what's factored into Emeka Egbuka having barely a top 40 season. So do not consider him to have a strong breakout. Again, that's with the breakout numbers. That's how bad this is going to get. Next up is going to be Luther Burden the third. Okay, we're past the second and first ones. We're on to the third burden of Luther's. Really good candidate to break out. Really not going to have that much of a season. Okay, very, very similar numbers to Emeka Egbuka, and part of it is because, for two reasons, Caleb Williams also has a really bad completion percentage. Now, Caleb, if you're watching, say what you want about your throwaway rate. Okay, if you haven't seen it, for those that are watching, Caleb, just give me a moment. Let me explain to the audience. Caleb Williams decided to share why his completion percentage was so low. Is because he had the highest throwaway rate of all quarterbacks last year. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. That's definitely a stat. But it does not bode well from the fantasy football perspective what Luther Burden's breakout season looks like, okay? It's also going to be outside of the top 30. Really need to see some absolute certainty because part of it is that I'm going into the year expecting Rome Odunze to be the wide receiver one. So something else I'm going to pay attention to in training camp. There's a video coming out next week about training camp reports and the most important storylines for training camp. This is one of them. Here's a little sneak preview just for you. That's one of the most important storylines for the offseason. Who's the wide receiver one? Because right now, the assumption is it's Rome Odunze, right? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comments because Odunze was drafted as a top 10 draft pick, and he's already played 2 years, and he's had some really good games. You tell me if there's a reason that Luther Burden should be the wide receiver one for Chicago or the Hammond Bears. That's the worst thing I've ever said in my life. I hate that. I'm a Dolphins fan. That breaks my heart. Doesn't matter what team you're a fan of. It needs to be Chicago. Sign a petition down below. There's no link. Just write your petition in the comments why they need to stay in Chicago, and I'll send it to Roger Goodell myself. This video gets 50 likes. I'll write a letter to Roger Goodell. Deal? Deal. All right, so speaking of Rome Odunze, let's talk about some year 3 candidates, year 3 breakouts for the wide receivers. Again, Rome Odunze, not exactly a high caliber wide receiver for a breakout season, and it has a lot to do with Caleb Williams' catch percentage, his completion percentage rather. I'm not a hater. I know some people are haters. Some people hate Caleb Williams. They don't like him. They don't like him. I'm not that guy. I'm not someone that hates Caleb Williams. The math is here. The stats are here. The data is here. Nothing says Rome Odunze, Luther Burden, they're going to crush it. They're going to have a sweet, sweet season, okay? Nothing tells nothing. Nothing. Okay? Nothing. Let's move on. Let's just move on. Okay, Marvin Harrison Jr. For those that aren't familiar with his father, okay, I watched him when I was a kid. Big fan of Peyton and Marvin. Big fan. Watched their Super Bowl against the Chicago Bears. Marvin Harrison Sr., Marvin Harrison Jr.'s father, had a really rough first 4 years in the NFL, okay? And then the Indianapolis Colts drafted Peyton Manning. And now Marvin Harrison is in the Hall of Fame, okay? So keep your hope alive for Marvin Harrison Jr.'s career. If you have a dynasty league, if you already got him, it's going to be tough to keep him. And if you want to go after him, try not to spend too much. But I do believe he's got a very similar trajectory to what his father had the first 4 years of his career. And it's going to look the same for year 3. Bad. It's bad. It's bad. Malik Nabers is also in his 3rd year. And yeah, he can technically break out, but there's no reason to do any different changes to his statistics because we already have that 1 year and he didn't have a 2nd year. So that first season is what his year is going to look like. So technically he could break out, but it's not any different because he was a top 6 wide receiver in full PPR his rookie season. What more is there to break out with? You know what I mean? Here's the problem, though. I just want to touch a little bit on Malik Nabers. He's not going to have any practice with Jackson Dart. In fact, he's never been able to practice with Jackson Dart because last season it was all Russell Wilson. And then for, I think, like 10 snaps, maybe not even, Malik Nabers and Jackson Dart play together, and then there goes his ACL. And as you know, Malik Nabers is still dealing with the injury. He's still recovering. He's not going to be on the football field. He may not be ready week 1. Where is the opportunity for Jackson Dart and Malik Nabers to practice? Where's the chemistry going to come from? So I do think Nabers is talented enough to still be a top 15 wide receiver, but the draft pick is already bad. If you watch the previous video, you know I said he's a potential bust. It's not looking good. It's not looking good. Just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. All right, there's 2 more wide receivers, and both of them, in fact, qualify for a year 3 breakout. And let me tell you, I am ecstatic for both of them. The first one is going to be Brian Thomas Jr. He has met the qualifications from his first 2 years, and he does qualify for a breakout because of how disappointing last year was. We were saying it here on Fourth Control, that touchdown rate, that target rate was just too unsustainable to do again, especially with a different quarterback. We were saying it, and they had a really, really disappointing season, even worse than I thought. Now we're looking at it, and the numbers are so good, and you're already hearing reports from Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence that Brian Thomas Jr. is back, baby. The route running is getting improved. The chemistry is built. Things are cooking in Jacksonville. Invest in Brian Thomas Jr.'s ADP, which, let me tell you, folks, let me tell you just how sweet it is, okay? Oh, my gosh. No way. I had to confirm. I just wanted to confirm. ADP is like round 8, folks. 8th round for someone that is perfectly qualified for year 3 breakout. Are you kidding me? He's currently the wide receiver 32. When you're looking across the board for all ADPs from all fantasy leagues, wide receiver 32. How do you not draft him? How do you not reach? How do you not reach for clearly the wide receiver 1 that was a top 5 wide receiver just 2 years ago, folks? You've got to draft Brian Thomas Jr. One of my guys, I think. I already think one of my guys for the year. Okay, last wide receiver for a breakout candidate is going to be Ladd McConkey. We had a very similar situation to Brian Thomas Jr., but just not nearly as dramatic. And it's all going to work out. The only problem with this is that he's being priced for the breakout, okay? Brian Thomas Jr. is not being evaluated for a breakout. Ladd McConkey is being evaluated, and part of it has to do with Mike McDaniel and his excellency with the slot receiver. Throughout his career, he has done so well coaching wide receivers from the slot and elevating them. You go back to Deebo Samuel and you go back to Tyreek Hill, the way that both of those wide receivers absolutely crushed it is why he has another opportunity following his firing in Miami to LA with McConkey. Just let's do it, okay? Being priced again at his breakout point, and I love it. And I think McConkey has top 5 upside, okay? Breakout is real. It's met all the metrics. It's met all the qualifications. Let's do it. Invest in Ladd McConkey, folks. Last position group we're going to talk about for the breakouts is going to be year 2 tight ends. This is a real thing. There's some metrics we can pay attention to, and I got a few of them here on my screen. Yards per route run, targets per route percentage, target share percentage, routes run from all pass attempts percentage, and slot route percentage. Did you get that? It's okay. I did. I'll just tell you what all that means. First thing, Colston Loveland, not really a candidate to break out. Okay. Yes, he has a good yards per route run. And yes, he does have a good targets per route. But he had a really late start of the season. If you remember, it took a long time for him to get going. Again, it's something with Caleb Williams, man. I don't know what it is. It's like Trevor Lawrence last year. Like, how did you end up as a top 5 quarterback in fantasy when all your wide receivers are like outside the top 35? I don't get it. I don't get it. But somehow Colston Loveland is here as someone that could break out, but he does not have the target share. He does not have the routes run per pass attempt. What? He does not have the routes run percentage. Uh it's in here, but it's not coming out of my mouth right. It's it's routes run per. You know what? Source, trust me, bro. Okay, last 2 tight ends. Tyler Warren is one of them. I love his potential. The only thing he didn't really quite get was slot routes for the percentage of his total routes run. Otherwise, he meets everything else. And boy, let me tell you something. He's going to have a lot of touchdowns, okay? Double-digit touchdowns. I think he's going to lead all tight ends in touchdowns. Tyler Warren is awesome. He is great. Now, I was way in to drafting him last year. I loved what he did at Penn State, and it's just going to be the same thing again here for Indianapolis. I think he is phenomenal, and he's going to do it again, and especially without Michael Pittman, who had a huge target share, a surprisingly large target share. That's just going to be fed even more into Tyler Warren's only 21% target share, which is a lot, actually. 21% is actually quite a bit. But to think about how much more that can be when Michael Pittman Jr. is gone, on top of a breakout increase. I mean, Tyler Warren is an actual tight end 1 contender. From everything I'm looking at, Tyler Warren can legitimately finish as a tight end 1. The last tight end is the only tight end of these 3 that met every single qualification to have a year 2 breakout, and it is, drumroll please, Harold Fannin Jr. Harold Fannin Jr. crushed it. Against all odds, crushed it. Now, we should have seen it coming. I mean, he led all of college football his last year in college in receiving yards as a tight end, okay? So he is a great receiving tight end. And it's no surprise. I mean, everything that he did for Cleveland, no wonder he meets all the measures for year 2 breakout. He's being drafted that way, but it's not as early as you might think. If you haven't looked at a mock draft yet, he's being drafted in like the 7th or 8th round. I mean, probably 6th round, but it's really great. Some people may reach for him because they want to make sure they have one of those really good tight ends. So they might like pluck Harold Fannin Jr. a little bit earlier than they need to, but that's worth it. Okay. He's definitely got some top 5 potential. He's definitely going to break out. I also really like drafting Harold Fannin Jr. Tyler Warren, he's going a little bit too early for me to like really go get him. But Harold Fannin, I can start looking into my flex option before I get to Harold Fannin. So I really like what his season's going to look like for 2026. All right, folks, that's what we've got for this video. Breakout candidates for 2026. If you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments down below. If you don't have an opinion, tell me why in the comments down below. Tell me your favorite color in the comments so I know you made it to the end of the video. That'll make me very happy, and I will heart your comment if you tell me your favorite color, okay? And they'll just wonder why. Everyone else that didn't watch to the end, they'll wonder why green is down there, and you and I will know because you care about this whole video. You care about having a great fantasy season, and you care about winning all of the great, sweet, big bucks you're going to get from the championship because you're watching 4th and Troll. Thank you so much for watching. Go check out the website as well. Link in the description. And I'll see you next week. I'm Wes, and this has been 4th and Troll.